Everybody, Sarah is back from Us Weekly. I was just realizing, I don't know if I only released our OC episode on the Patreon.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know either. So in case you guys are new to this, Sarah and I, we're best friends basically. So
goes down in the DMs.
Goes down in the DMs. There it is. She is back. She's here from Us Weekly. So she has a lot of insider scoops. How have you been surviving Scandival?
Oh my God. You know what's so crazy is usually when stories like this happen, I get like really sick of them quick. I'm one of those people who like freaks out in the moment, and then like we plan and then we do the follows, and then I'm like, I can't believe I'm still writing about this. I don't feel that way about Scandival at all. I could talk about it, write about it. It's literally all I think about still. It has that rare, it feeds my soul. Like I'm still trying to come up with new ways to cover it. Every time any of them do anything, like I am there. I'm watching like freaking Jackson Brittany watch Vanderpump Rules now. Like I'm consuming all of the BS that they're throwing at me.
Thank you. Because you know what? I'm really tired of people saying like, no one cares about this. I'm like, well, that's a false statement.
Yeah. I couldn't care about anything else.
When it broke, did you like what happens at like Us Weekly when things like that breaks? Is like, does everyone get like a universal text message like everyone wake up?
Basically, that's actually, so I always joke that when Queen Elizabeth was like, you know, not doing well, I was like, can she just do me a solid and maybe close her eyes on a Tuesday at like noon Eastern Standard Time? Like, like I'm not trying to ask for too much. Like, and I always say stuff like that. And Scandival was on East Coast time. It was 3:30 and it was TMZ because we were in a meeting and one of my writers was talking and I immediately was like, I'm sorry, I'm sure what you're saying is a great idea, but TMZ is claiming that Tom Sandoval and Raquel had an affair. We need to end this Zoom right now. And we need to all, and I was like, Ariana deleted her Instagram. So I'm like, even if we can't confirm it, we can say like I'm always trying to come up with angles because we try to then confirm it ourselves, go to the rep to do our own like journalism outreach and stuff you have to do. But because everything's so competitive now, you try to come up with almost like alternative ways to cover it without even like sometimes getting, not getting the confirmation, but you know what I mean? Like kind of being clever and like coming up with ways to like also beat like what the next person's going to do. And it's like, okay, do we lead with her deleting her Instagram amid the rumors? Okay, we confirmed it. We can tweak it back to this headline. And then I remember James Kennedy was the first person to comment and like confirm it, but I thought he commented on like a Bravo account. And Bravo historian Sam Bush reposted it. And I texted her immediately. I was like, where's this comment? And she was like, his page. I'm like, oh, like in my blind, like freaking out. I couldn't even find the comment and it was on his own account. And I also remember immediately saying like, TMZ never covers Vanderpump Rules. Maybe they're confused. Maybe they think it was Schwartz. Like I was like, my brain was just broken.
That's a good way to put it. Cause it took too long to read what was so right in front of me. I was like,
yes,
hold on. And good point too about when James posted it on his own page. That also confused me. Yeah. Like I was like, this is James's account, right?
Everything always goes down on like Bravo accounts like yours. And like, I always love that when it's like, oh, that's great for whoever, because now if outlets are doing what they should do, your name is going to get to be in it. You get to be linked back. Like, that's awesome. It's like a weird way of journalism now that like Instagram comments are somehow like sources, but it is. And when I found out he posted it on his own account with no caption and then commented on his own picture, I was like, I can't do this right now. But I was happy it was 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, even though Friday is always a little rough when news breaks. As long as it's before 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I thank the celebrity for this situation.
Here at She Speaks Bravo, we believe that Bravo TV is a great form of self-care and therapy. Look at me. I've been using it for over a decade, and I am a complete mess. That's me, by the way. I'm Emily, and I'm your host on this journey.
What is this, honey?
I love that.
If you're not already subscribed, get subscribed and hit that notification bell because I'm releasing new episodes at least 3 times a week.
You fool.
That's my opinion!
I talk Bravo, I talk true crime, and sometimes I talk a little scripted. So whatever you're here for, I hope you enjoy the show. Okay, so I do this with all my guests. I'm going to go through the cast and I'm going to say a name and you're going to let me know like how you feel about them, okay?
Okay,
here we go. Heather.
Oh God. Used to love, I think like most people, used to love. Honestly, now she makes me cringe. I feel slightly uncomfortable because she keeps like quoting Mean Girls and like thinks she's doing something. And I just want to love her so bad because I used to love her so much. But the girl, I didn't really like last season of Salt Lake City very much. And this is just like making me not look forward to seeing her again, which it should be the opposite. This is supposed to be where they like shine because it's fun. And she just brought too much baggage.
Okay. Oof. Giselle.
Okay, another one who I've always loved, Giselle. I think that's controversial. I think she's an amazing housewife. She brings so much to Potomac, and people who don't acknowledge that don't understand what they'd be losing if she was gone, in my opinion. Is she a good person? Probably not, but she's great television. And I think even though I'm upset that she made Pepsi cry, I think she's doing what she thought she was supposed to be doing, which was like stirring the pot.
Yes, she does. We'll get into it. Okay. Leah.
Oh my God. I really don't like Leah. I never really liked Leah. I think we all liked her when that first season, kind of, but like not even. And then I don't know. I don't really like Leah. And now it's like your bucket hat and your illness, like go home.
Your bucket, that's the quote of the episode. Your bucket hat and your illness, go home.
Like, I don't need to see you in the hospital. I don't need to see you like dry heaving. I don't need to see people rolling water bottles over you. Like, it's not it. That's not what I want on my TV. Go home.
Yeah, she really got it's like if she clearly is legitimately sick, unless she's just really willing to commit and go and just like go
long bit.
Yeah, she's like, no, I will go to the ER to show people how sick I am. But like, this was not unfortunate.
Yeah.
Whitney.
Okay, I like Whitney. I actually think she's doing a great job on this girls' trip, given the circumstances, because of the Heather stuff. One thing this has taught me is, and I think a lot of people have said this too, it's not like a hot take, is not a good idea to have housewives that are in production or just wrapped production or haven't even filmed their reunion, like put their stuff to bed on this trip, because it's bringing it in. It doesn't work. The timeline's confusing. It was so long ago. We see them make amends. And then now we know, like Heather and Whitney make amends. And now we know they hate each other again because of everything. But all things considered, I think Whitney is doing a much better job than Heather of kind of trying to navigate a weird situation. They're both wrong for a lot of reasons, but I like Whitney.
Yes, agreed. This was a failed experiment for like pulling people from a show that was going to be ending in to do this. And
Potomac and Salt Lake, so they're both in it. It's too much.
Exactly, too much. Marisol.
Oh, love. Okay. Love. When she said, honestly, the Miami girls are on another show, but I want to watch that show. Like, they are living their best lives, and they are what I think Bravo or Peacock intended to do with this like dynamic duos that clearly fell apart because the matches don't make any sense. And we knew obviously Tinsley was supposed to be there to be like with Leah, and then somehow Porsha got here. But I think that both Marisol and Alexia are stars. I enjoy them trying to keep up with this. I think it's so funny when they were like, I'm going to go swim with the Mormons. I laughed, like, loved it. Love her.
Okay, so then Alexia.
Yeah, love Alexia too. I think they just like, again, they're here to have fun, but they also like, when they pretended they didn't know what shade was, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, sometimes they try to pretend they don't speak English. It's hilarious. I just love both of them. And I think that they bounce off each other well. And I think they are adding some levity that this show needs, because it's like getting oddly dark about things that don't need to be serious.
Yes. Okay. So then Candace.
I love Candace. I feel like I am kind of a Rare Housewives fan, in my humble opinion, that I can always appreciate both sides. I'm not like a team Carol, team Bethany, team Giselle, team Candace. I really remember liking Monique and Candace, and people like not understanding how I liked both of them and didn't want either of them to leave. And Candace is very like polarizing. But I need her on my TV, but I also want Giselle on my TV. Like, I like watching conflict, so I don't feel like I need to pick a side. So I like Candace.
There we go. Porsha.
Porsha is having a great showing. I think this show is bringing out the best sides of Porsha, which is like when she's funny. When they were going, bye Leah, bye Porsha, bye Leah, I was laughing hysterically. Things got dark on that spinoff show that like Porsha had with her family.
Real dark.
So I didn't love that. And even her last couple seasons of Atlanta, I understood why they kind of put her on a pause. It was time. But
Same.
I've always loved Porsha. And I think this is a great like formula for her. She could be kind of like what they were going to do with Brandy, bring her back on a girls trip kind of thing. I think Porsha is great for this format.
Agreed. This is like her wheelhouse right here.
Yeah.
This is what she can do perfectly.
I didn't see her and Giselle becoming buddy as something that was going to happen, but it's interesting.
Yeah, well, I forgot that they had the whole chat room connection, and then I'm like, oh, duh. So
yeah, so like they something going into this with an alliance of sorts is important to some degree, and that's why Heather and Whitney, again, this dynamic duo concept was smart, but it's uneven now, so it's a little strange. But
yeah, I think for sure, let's go no alliances anymore and just do randoms, because it's like too hard to keep the equation equal. Like just go random, and good luck.
It's also who does their homework, right? Like Heather is a fan, so she knows everything about all these people. She's seen every episode. I feel like you can tell, are genuinely asking the question because they don't know anything about them. Like I remember on the first one, like you someone like Luann. Like Luann does not know who anyone is. She's only watching her own scenes, let alone other franchises of Bravo. So it's fascinating. And Porsha's another one, maybe because of chat room, seems to know a lot about everyone and knows like where to poke and where not to do. So it's interesting to see who like comes prepared on something like this.
And what I like about Porsha is that Porsha does get the business and formulaic element of Housewives really well. And I do appreciate, that's what I appreciate about Ultimate Girls Trip, is that they teach us that they like, no, we know how this works. And I like that. I like having an element of that for sure.
Even when they like broke the mics in the pool, I was like, oh, like this is what I want to see. Like I like the fourth wall breaking. And I think Peacock has done a really good job with this kind of show. They set the precedent on the first one when they all kind of like went around and talked about coming on the show for the first time. And I don't know if they did that just to make Teresa and Melissa fight about something we've seen a million times, but I like that that's just like, and you get to know them better as people because they can like break the wall and talk about being a quote unquote housewife. And I think that's like when the show is at its best too.
Yeah, that taught us like on that first season, it was like, oh, that's what this is going to be.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm into that then, because that does make it different than just yet another cast trip. Okay,
yeah,
cool. Thank you, Peacock. When I found out Cozy Earth wanted to sponsor the pod, I was like, oh my God, the synergy of this. Cozy is my number one goal in life. And I'm on a quest to find loungewear that is cozy, obviously, and flattering. So I used my own code, She Speaks, at CozyEarth.com to purchase the loungewear set that they have. It's on its way. I will let you know how it goes. I'm very excited. What I did receive from Cozy Earth, though, thank you, by the way, Cozy Earth, were their sheets. I got the sheets that are made from viscose from bamboo. They also do come in linen. And I talked about it last week. These sheets, I like a soft, cold, a little bit of a cool touch. They're temperature regulating, so that's why they have that cool touch to them. Easily the best sheets I've ever felt in my life, hands down. It is no wonder Cozy Earth has been on Oprah's favorite things list, like 5 years now. So Cozy Earth also makes bath products, also made from viscose from bamboo. This is responsibly sourced too, by the way, which is important. Their bath products come in a plush collection and also a waffle collection. I'm about to just be getting everything on the Cozy Earth website using my code. So, okay, right now, Cozy Earth provided an exclusive offer for my listeners today. 35% off site-wide when you use the code She Speaks. So go to CozyEarth.com, shop around, get 35% off when you put in my code She Speaks at checkout. Okay, let's get into this. Episode 6. We pick up on Pepsi still crying in the confessional. I have a hot take. I'm getting a weird vibe from Pepsi.
You know, it's funny because I always when they've done this like butler like gag throughout Girls Trip, and I guess they do need like someone else because there's no Andy Cohen, there's no like, it doesn't really make sense that they'd all be together. So I guess they try to like have something that's like they all have in common, which in this case is Pepsi. Mm-hmm. I was just thinking like I wonder how much he was paid for this.
Yeah.
Like, is it worth it? Like, is he an actor? Are these people actors that like tried out for this? Do they genuinely like, are they tour guides? What did he expect to happen?
Thank you.
I feel like he's an actor because he was upset that it wasn't going the way he wanted it to.
Yes. That's exactly what I was wondering. I'm like, what did they tell him was this role?
Right.
Because like you know, what was the guy, whatever his name was in Dorinda's season,
Oh.
he was more than happy to not be included in stuff. Like he was
Right.
like, leave me out of it.
And I think they tried to make it seem like Dorinda, like that was a guy who runs Bluestone Manor, but then you realize very quickly, like he doesn't even know Dorinda.
And happily.
Yes, happily. And then this Pepsi is when they're not wanting to box or they're not wanting to do his plan or they're fighting in public, he's embarrassed. Like I feel like he thought he was like going to be the HBIC, like he was in charge, but like these are alphas. They are not like Pepsi. You are the like these women are not going to let you tell them what to do. So I don't know what they told you, but like you're not in charge at all.
Yes, yeah, he totally thought he was the leader.
Yeah,
and it's giving like a little controlling-ish energy, and that okay. So they're fighting, and they get into like their all white outfits, and Porsha in her like epic white off the shoulder sunglasses on, and Heather does have a funny line. Porsha goes into her room and Heather goes, hey, did you want to do a shot? I have a bottle of Clase Azul that I stole from Giselle. Did you want to just do a quick shot? Well, that was
good.
Well done. She finally got a good like old Heather moment, because Heather used to be hilarious.
I know. It's you rarely see like fall. I guess everyone has like their seasons where people maybe turn on them. It's like it's probably very bizarre to go from being like a fan favorite to then a not so fan favorite. I imagine that's not great for like your mental health or your psyche. But she's someone who such like a fall from grace for like no real reason. I think she just watched herself back and then became like a caricature of herself. Yeah. And then Whitney's calling her out on it, which is making her more defensive. And then she's doubling down and doing it worse. Whereas like when she was just herself, people truly loved her. And now she's trying too hard and it's painful, honestly.
Yeah. But then Pepsi sits them all down. Like they start to come together and he's like, ladies, sit down and I shall tell you. And he's like, I'm not happy. And Porsha, because they're like, why? And Porsha goes, there was some yelling here at the house that he was a witness to.
She's so funny.
What? And so Porsha does this, or Pepsi does the bit where he like mocks them. We saw it in the trailer and I'm like, oh, this is getting a little intense. Or he's like, I don't care what is real or what is fake. But I love Porsha. She turns this and she goes, you better call it out, Pepsi. Yeah. You better preach with her fan. She's like, let him use you. And they put in the church organ. This is amazing.
It is. It really is. And I think that that's another example. Like he's trying to give main character energy, but it's like, Pepsi, you would shine if you like made a funny comment or when they cut. It's always good when you put like a non-housewives person in a room with housewives and they get a good facial reaction. Like the people in the background at that lunch when they were all fighting, that's who I want to see. Like they're like in disbelief they're witnessing this. Pepsi inserted himself into it. And I don't know if they told him to do that. I don't know if they said like, you have to call a meeting, but like it's weird to me. Like what does Pepsi care whether they're getting along?
Well, yeah, you should want them not to.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But then Candace takes it very, she's like, I am so sorry. I apologize for yelling. And Giselle is like, she's like, I'm doing my job.
Right.
So she's like, I'm not apologizing. Then Leah is like, as I was laying there, scared, I heard you and I wanted to hold your hand. Porsha, by the way, wasn't listening to any of this. So she's like, we did not mean to offend you. We did not mean to disrespect. And they're like, Porsha, Leah was talking. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even hear that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I wasn't listening.
No, Leah, she's another one. I feel like kind of like people liked her and then very much it shifted.
Very much.
And I think it's because it's like this put on, like, you don't need Pepsi. Like you shouldn't be crying over Pepsi. Like, what are we doing? It's been 5 days. Like you're acting like you don't need to be upset about Porsha, which you clearly are because you've known her for 5 days. So why are you reaching for Pepsi in your time of need?
Really?
It's fake.
Yeah. And okay, moving on because I can't. But then he goes, one thing, I am always beside you, always find you a solution. I'm like, well, then where's the bottle?
Right.
Bro, I swear he told them to throw it out because it was almost empty.
I was thinking, like, what was it? Was it empty? They brought all those places. That bottle of tequila is not going to last you the whole week if you're drinking it like that.
Yeah, and like I know for a fact they poured a shot for everyone when they got on the boat, and so that's all of them doing one shot out of it. That made a dent. That's that alone. So come on now, okay?
100%.
Giselle's just in her confessional. She's like, Pepsi's not built for this.
No.
We need a Coke or a Sprite. That's a good line, guys.
It's a good line.
Gotta give her credit. So Marisol does her little Cockies activity.
Mm-hmm.
It was cute.
It was cute. It's always a little like it kind of gives Summer House vibes when they all have to like own an event the same way they have to like throw a party.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand it's literally for the show to go, like they need structure, but it always bothers me on shows like this when they force things on us. And this is the most natural one, right? Like it's totally fine. Like Marisol, all she does is drink. So like I get it. But like even I feel like I just don't really understand what it actually had to do with like her mom. Like I love Mama Elsa, but like I feel like she was bringing her up because that's like one of her like checkpoints. I drink and my mom was beloved. Like I love Marisol, but I'm like, you don't need to do this. Like we like you. Like just be yourself.
Yeah, no, because then she even admits like none of it, like.
Yeah, they were like, "What does this food mean to your mom?" And they're like, "Oh, nothing. It's local."
She's like, "It was just Asian." Like she liked that we're all in white, and that I'm like, "Oh, okay, nothing."
I did like when she said, my friend and I when we were watching, we were like, we could take on the persona of I drink, I dress well, and like I talk a little shit or something. Was like what she said, like her mom did, and I was like, that's the lifestyle I'm trying to live.
That's exactly that's my vibes.
Yeah.
But then Marisol does have a very problematic line in her confessional. She's like, we could all use a little cocky. I mean, look at poor Leah. If she had a cocky, maybe things would be more festive for her on this trip. I'm like, okay, she has a substance abuse issue. So let's okay.
Very weird narrative from the start with Leah. I mean, not from Leah. Leah's consistent. And
exactly.
I think that everyone else, like, I guess if you did watch, like Heather was saying, you watch her first season, she was drunk. They kind of made it funny. Roni has always had a very weird relationship with alcohol. All of those women, they are hilarious when they're drunk, but also monsters. And good on Leah for, getting her life right. Because she does have a young daughter and, wants to live a long, healthy life. That's great. But the second she told them it was serious, there should have never been confusion or discussion or debates or even comments like, I don't know. It's just, I feel like they like don't believe her, which is just so insane to question anyone's, even if they don't have a quote unquote drinking problem, they want to be sober. Like, do not tell them they shouldn't be.
It is that vibe, isn't it? It's kind of like they don't buy it.
Right.
Ooh,
and it's because she did her first season drinking and then she's had a shift. But like, that's what happens when you're an alcoholic. Like sometimes you relapse and then you have to, I mean, I don't know. I shouldn't, I can't speak to it, but like, it's just a weird thing to question or poke fun at. Like, leave that alone. Like, there's nothing there to
let's drop it. Let's drop it, guys. Just like, let it go.
Even as I'm talking about it, I'm like, I shouldn't even talk about it because I'm going to say something stupid and whatever. But I'm just like, that's a very weird one to joke about, harp on in person. And then in a confessional months later, when do a little Google search. You don't have to read her book, read the revelations. You'll realize there's a problem there.
Yeah, exactly. But okay, wait, when they get to the dinner, there's a part where Porsha looks down that they have to sit on the floor and she goes, how are we supposed to get down here?
Yeah.
I related to that because her dress is so tight.
They were acting like it was like a jungle gym. Like they had never seen like floor seating before, but they all looked great. White is their color. Porsha's body.
I know. Banging. Amazing. Giselle gets messy right away and she's like, so Leah, I just want to let you know, I did tell Porsha about what you said, about her hating you. And Porsha, she's like, you're just not my type of chick. Leah tries. She's like, same with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then she immediately kind of like says a different thing. She goes, there were a few times that I didn't feel the energy, but like, I don't know what I did, but I don't really
like your
care,
vibe.
Actually. I'm like, those are different things.
What do you think of the not tagging her on Instagram or not tagging her and not tagging? Who was the other one she didn't tag?
Candace.
I love Porsha for being petty. Also, when they were fighting, I was like, oh God, Leah doesn't stand a chance. Like Porsha can eat all of them for lunch, like not even a chance. So I was like, this is going to end poorly for Leah. But just overall, like it's a weird thing to me that she did that. I feel like it doesn't really do any, like, I don't know, not tagging someone. They're still in the picture, like cropping someone out or like, I don't know, putting an emoji on their face is like meaner, but also like effective, like not tagging them. I would have thought that like it was a mistake. I don't even know if I would have, or she couldn't find their account, or maybe I would look into whether they were blocked. I know a thing or two about being blocked on Instagram. So like I maybe would have thought, but they are right. Leah's right to the point where like the press is going to see that. And all of a sudden like page 6 headline is going to be like, Porsha doesn't tag whoever. So she did it on purpose. But for me, it's just like a lame shade throw, not tagging someone on Instagram.
Well, it's a lame shade throw. And here's the thing that's going to happen. It's going to get more attention because the fans are going to be like, because the fans do that. They notice unfollows, they notice not tagging. So now it's going to get more attention. I remember when it happened. I remember like people sent it to me like Porsha posted this, but she didn't tag Leah and Candace. As where if she had just tagged them, it would have gotten almost like no attention. It would have been like, oh, here's a picture from. So what she did kind of inadvertently gave it more light, ironically.
Right.
But it was just a dig at them. But then she got to act like, what? I don't like you. So I almost don't know. Like, I don't know what she intended to do, but it gave them great scenes.
Yeah.
So I can't tell.
Like Instagram culture with reality TV is so interesting to me. And sometimes I love it because like when Sheena Shea is cropping Lala's face onto Raquel, it's hilarious. Like there's definitely perks, but I also get really stressed on the journalism, entertainment writing side when we're like tracking unfollows and blocks. And one website said they unfollowed and I'm like, did they ever follow? Like all of a sudden I have spreadsheets of who's following who. And I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah, no, that part exhausts me too. Like when Bethany and Kyle, remember there was that moment and I was like,
still never got a really good answer for that though, Bethany.
Agreed. Bethany really didn't explain that properly.
No.
But so Leah tries to explain what it is, and it's like you just said that Housewives is like a sisterhood and all that, and Heather tries to help Leah out. Heather's like, it kind of, and Porsha cuts her off and goes, "Excuse me, she's talking to me, so allow me to respond." And I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to be thoughtful. Can't wait. And she goes, "Instead of poor Leah, bye."
Leah, bye. It was good.
It was great because then Leah goes, "Cool." And then she just repeats, "Leah, bye." And they do this amazing Porsha, bye. Leah, bye. Porsha, bye. It kind of gave me from Beverly Hills when Sutton and Diana went, "That I know."
Yeah.
So you say, "That I know." And I was like, how many times are they going to do this? Like I wanted to, that could have gone on for a while. Leah, bye. Porsha, bye. I loved it. I loved it too.
And you said one thing that was great too, because Porsha they were like, you were just talking about how this is like such sisterhood. Because if there's one thing Porsha Williams is going to do, it's going to be a walking contradiction. And we just love her for it. We accept that she says, yeah, I did say that and I believe it, but not for you. And it's like, there's no real reason. It makes no sense. But because she's so strong in her beliefs that actually make no sense, and she just sells it because she's hilarious, Porsha can get away with it. But if I was fighting with her, it would be drive you nuts because you're contradicting yourself. What did I ever do to you? And she's like, I just don't like you. And it's like, there's no real rationale for anything Porsha does, but it's amazing television, but it must be infuriating to fight with her.
Very, right? But Porsha's said this a couple times. She's paranoid that Candace and Leah are just like trying to get a moment with her, like a camera moment. And she says a line. She's like, I was their moment because I argued, like, earn your check for you. Earn your own check.
Right.
That's a good housewife slay line. Like, I wonder if, I don't think we've really seen lines like that in Housewives. They usually cut those sorts of things.
I think they probably do say that to each other, but they don't because it's too fourth wall-y.
Yes.
But I also think something that Porsha has that's an advantage, in my opinion, is she's the only one, besides Leah, but only one who is not actively on a show and has kind of been able to take a step back and has been on her show when she was on it much longer than everyone else. So she has the experience and also a little bit of time removed, whereas the other women are like on the defense and I feel like trying too hard because they're on. And I think one of the reasons Ex-Wives Club was so successful was the same reason, where one, they're thirsty and they do want, to get back on the show. And that's a whole other beast. But I also think having time away from the cameras gives you a really good perspective that then when they are back in front of them, sometimes they throw it all away and act crazy anyway, but a lot of times they can see the bigger picture, and housewives that are in it can't at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's an advantage.
Totally it. Absolutely. Porsha says it straight up. She's like, the issue is that you're not connected to any of this. Like, and I love that she gave her that read. It's like Leah's acting like poor me, but it's like, you don't even seem to like any of this that's going on. Right. And then Marisol gets involved. Whitney tries to help her out. Whitney's like, Leah, there's a lot of complaining. Like, I'm tired, I'm PMSing. What the conclusion is, the vibe that you put out isn't the vibe that you want to put out. And Leah's like, I'm sorry, but my mom's a therapist. This is how I came out. I was like, what?
I know. Leave your mom out of this.
About? That is such a weird. That's the conclusion. Your mom would be disappointed, and that is the reason why you've given this. Okay.
This performance.
Whitney's confessional, though, she goes, maybe Leah is just a constant state of irritation. I'm like, yes. I think that is accurate. I don't think
Leah likes being on this show. Like,
she doesn't.
She didn't like being on New York Housewives because she hated all the women. And then she tried to, revolutionize it with Ebony, and that was just never going to work. And then now I'm just surprised she even agreed to do this. Like, she doesn't want to be there.
She doesn't like groups of alphas. She likes to be the only alpha. And this is not the place, honey.
Even Pepsi's trying to be an alpha. Like, this is not, you got to just let everyone take their turn.
Yep, it's true. Porsha throws it off her and she's like, Marisol, there's got to be someone you're not vibing with. And she's like, well, we love Heather because Heather's trying to learn Spanish. But Candace, love you one-on-one, but you're loud and crazy in public. And I love how Candace is unaware that she's loud. She's like, what? Me? And they're like, everyone's like, yes, we all agree. Yeah. But Candace is like, they're just all up Porsha's ass. And Candace is like, that's why it's so big. There's a lot of bitches up there. And Porsha goes, you want to be one?
They are great. It's a great energy between the two of them. And Candace does similar things to Porsha, where pretty much contradicting herself at all times, but sells it because she's so strong in her convictions. Yes. And it's just believing what your own BS is the key to being a good reality star. It's why, Sonia Morgan still thinks she's rich. And as long as Sonia believes it, it's amazing to watch. You know what I mean? Like, you have to believe your own insane narrative. And then I will watch you talk in circles all day.
You have to believe your own insane narrative. That is truly the key. It is.
Yeah.
Heather's turn. She gets to say that Giselle's the one who kind of like automatically shut her down, which is accurate because, the Jen Shaw thing, as soon as she walked in, fine, absolutely. But then she also says that you put me as the number one suspect for the Glossier Azul. Candace, though, we go to the confessional. She's like, this is Heather's chance to say all the things she said on the van. And then Heather does. Heather says that she actually was going to throw her soup at her and flip the table and be like, I'm done. And it's funny how as soon as you really do push Giselle, she does back off. Because Heather says, I don't need to prove that I'm here with good intention. And Giselle goes, you don't need to. Giselle, yes, she did. Because she was like, you wanted everyone's room searched.
You're right. Giselle does
that's Giselle. She backs off so easily.
But that's also, I think, what makes a good housewife, because you stir the pot, you throw it out there. If it's someone, it hits a nerve on someone, you're getting the reaction you want, but you have to be able to move on. You can't harp on it, which is even like with the bottle. I don't want to hear about this bottle anymore. Like, I really don't care. And that's where she's like not doing what she usually does, which is like, I guess people would probably have a problem with me saying that because she, always makes her storylines about other people. But I do feel like she backs off in low stakes situations pretty well. She throws out a bomb and then kind of walks away. And that's what she did with Heather. And sometimes maybe it goes too far with all the stuff that happened like last season with Candace and her husband and stuff. But it's also interesting with that because their dynamic is so strange too.
Yeah. Yeah. So they end up coming to a conclusion where Giselle's like, I would love a do-over if you're open to it. And Heather's like, everything about me is open, okay? And I came in here with a very pick me vibe, and Giselle tries to keep reading her. She's like, but why? All grossed out. I actually thought that Heather spun this perfectly, or it worked this right. She's like, I'm being honest and vulnerable, Giselle. I'm not trying to be cool. And I liked what Giselle said here. She's like, I'm sorry. Nobody's vulnerable around me, so I got to get used to it. And that is such a true statement. They're on really Housewives, on Housewives, no one is vulnerable, especially on Potomac. They're all on guard. Yeah. And so it was an interesting dynamic for Giselle to have because she's used to dealing with Candace, who's always ready to fight her. So that was cool. And then they all kind of like eased up. And Whitney, I didn't follow what Whitney said, because Whitney's a little fucked up, and I enjoy that about Whitney. But I was like, not sure what you said, but I'm pretty sure you said something nice about Heather. Not sure, but okay, that was good. So we're moving towards some sort of resolution there, and I always love that.
Yes.
Heather's confessional was actually, I love a little epiphany moment. It seemed like she said, this is the first time that I'm seeing I can actually be liked and still have an opinion.
Right.
The problem is then we still haven't seen the reunion. They haven't even filmed it. And then at said reunion was such a crash and burn.
Yeah.
That I'm like, that kind of erases.
The timeline is so crazy because they filmed this in July, and obviously their reunion didn't tape until like December, but they also had Bravocon in the middle, and that Salt Lake City panel at Bravocon was, I mean, nuts. I felt like I was at a reunion. It was the craziest thing ever. They were just really coming for each other. They even didn't have the Salt Lake people, like they walked the carpets separate. Like it was very insane with the Salt Lake City girls. And it's so confusing to me. And I feel like Whitney kind of has tried to say that, like, we left on good terms and then you came at me. And I don't know if Heather thinks, like, I don't know if she reads Instagram comments that are people who are like blowing smoke up her ass and is like, yeah, I am right. And like takes everything back. But Whitney fights back, but Whitney usually doesn't start it, at least when there's resolution. All of a sudden Heather like undoes everything they did. And is it just because like what Twitter told her she was right about an argument, so she's rehashing it? Like it doesn't make any sense to me, because we ended in a good place. So how did we get from July to October Bravocon to then even worse as it went on?
Like what? Like, because then they have this huge hug moment,
weirdest hug ever.
Like, and then Portia's crying, like they in this together, and it's in the rain. What a blessing! And then they jump in the pool. Portia crying? I know, full tears, like real cry. And they jump in the pool, and they're all like, "Your mics, your mics." Marisol's like, "Oh my god, I've ruined about $6,000 worth of microphones. I've learned my lesson." Because they charge them. In case you guys didn't know, if they ruin mics, they get charged for them. And I don't know what they are, but they're like $500, I think, each or something. But yeah, that's crazy to know that this is how the trip goes for them. And then they get to Bravocon, and Heather came for Whitney pretty hard. Yeah. Once she got up on that panel. It's got to be the fan feedback. It's got to be the fan feedback, because she loves it. She loves being a fan favorite. So she thought she was going to like bring it on.
And I think because she's a fan of Housewives, there's a very dangerous line of being a fan of Housewives and being on it, because I think she's probably thinking like, you know, you're nobody until you're talked about. All press is good press. Having a feud gives you longevity. They need me on the show. And instead she's undoing all the organic parts that people liked about her. So I think it just comes back to trying too hard. And I think she thinks being in a feud is good for her housewife career, but it's not good if you can't let it go. You have to be the kind of housewife that can fight to the death and act like you're never going to forgive them, but you sure as hell better forgive them and keep filming with them, because nothing makes me angrier than a reality star who refuses to film with another one. You're not better than them. I don't care.
Oh, it's so obnoxious too for the whole scene. It's like, because then they got to keep doing these split scenes. The point is we see you all together, and how does that work? Like, what does that dynamic look like? Otherwise, what's the point?
It should be illegal. I don't know how, it should be illegal for housewives or reality stars, I don't care who, to try to box each other out of scenes. Or if it's happening, then, you know, be extra transparent and show us every single thing, which they're starting to do. And I think it's a dangerous road. It should be illegal. Housewives crime, girl on girl crime, housewife on housewife crime. You cannot refuse to film with someone. It drives me nuts.
Yeah. And like you said, if they do, then I want to see all the behind the scenes. I want to see them in that meeting being like, I refuse to film. I want to see that stuff. You can't get protected. Okay.
Exactly.
It's rude. They all swim in the rain with Pepsi. Pepsi couldn't wait to get in there.
I know.
He's like, I am in this scene too. Woo, look at me. But I love that they're all wasted in this confessional and decide that they do want to smoke weed. But they're like, we can't do it on camera. Love it. Love, love, love.
Very funny.
The next day, Giselle in the morning, it's 8:36 in the morning. Giselle gets up to meet with Pepsi to go over the itinerary. And he just wants to talk about that tantric dinner. And Giselle's like, this is too early. But he's talking about like all the things it could be. I'm like, damn, Pepsi, like you are naughty. This man he's acting like he doesn't know what it could be. But I'm like, you are this guy has some sex toys. He's a freak. I'm telling you. Okay.
It's too early and I'm too vulnerable to be thinking about Pepsi's sex life.
Oh, he's got it. Okay. He's got it. I'm telling you. Heather, but they're going to the temple today.
Mm-hmm.
Whitney goes to Marisol's room, Marisol and Alexia's room, and she's like, I'm too embarrassed to ask Pepsi, but I was supposed to bring dicks for the dinner. I just imagine, because, that's what these people are for, like what Pepsis are for, to be like, okay, so for this dinner tonight, I need a dick for the table. Like, that's what they're supposed to do, but I suspect he has some.
Yeah.
They gather in the dining room to leave, but Leah has to run to the bathroom. And this begins her harrowing journey to eventually need to go. It's like they leave her to go to the temple. And she's like, I need to go to the ER. The poor producer who has to deal with Leah is like, are you sure? Okay. And he has to radio, all right, guys, we got to take Leah to the ER. And they're like,
here we go again with Leah. Stay home, please. Do not go on another one of these.
So whatever producer has to be like, so I can't go to the temple?
I know.
I have to go to the ER.
And then they were like, let's just leave her there and have her do FaceTimes later. We don't need cameras on her.
Yeah, totally. They're like, I will just keep calling to check on her because I can't, I'm not, it's like someone filmed her for a minute and they're like, I got at least 10 minutes of footage. We're good.
We can play that on a loop for the status of Leah. We don't need more.
We'll just set up a tripod and we'll just refer to that. It's like a little webcam or something. They get in the vans and Heather gets in Porsha and Giselle's van. And Heather goes, it's like Regina George just pulled up and said, get in, loser. We're going shopping. It's a lot.
It's a lot. And again, that's just the Heather I don't like. She's trying too hard. And I think that she thinks she's doing something and she's just not. To me, it's not serving me.
I think what it is, I don't want to see me on this vacation.
Right.
I could do that.
Right. I know Mean Girls.
Can't.
I lived 2004 too.
Yeah. Whatever. Then they have the temple and Pepsi's walking through all the rituals and they do the offerings to the monks and Porsha she says, I want them to feel all the love that their disciples have for them. Is that the term?
I was going to say, I was like, where'd she get disciples from?
It's I don't think that's what they call them, but okay, fine. And I wonder if the monks later were like, what did that chick say? What was she talking about?
I'm sure they were overall is that something people do, I guess? But they must have been like, what is this crew? Where are they from? Why are we being filmed? What the hell is this?
Why do we have to sign a release? What the fuck was that?
Weird.
They're lucky. Weird. They're not even monks. They're we're the stand-in monks when they want to film at this temple. Okay. Right?
Monks exposed.
That's the big scandal.
That's the headline that comes out of Girls Trip 3.
Pepsi goes over their papers from the fortunes that they put on the statues. They're hilarious because they're very much kind of bad fortune cookie fortunes. They're not necessarily all super great, but Giselle's is, it's not good. Your husband or boyfriend in the future is already broke. Giselle's confessional is you don't even have to worry about me getting involved with this broke man because he's broke. So,
well, now we know it's Jason from Winter House.
I was just gonna say, now we know it's Jason from Winter House. I'm so might be a little
probably accurate.
So, Candace is you're feeling alone in the ocean, but she really connects to that because she's preparing for headlining her tour and she's lonely and she's fighting with Chris. So I'm oh, okay, it's getting a little better. We're getting more accurate, but then it gets to Porsha. Not really good. You're going to have a problem with a lesbian.
Yeah.
But she handles it so well. She goes, oh, I received that. But then her confessional is amazing. She goes, if someone tells you on the street, it's one thing. It's oh, okay, that's just the word on the street. Word at the temple? I might get beat up for real.
No, she is just that. Things like that just make me want a camera on Porsha at all times.
I want her, I'm going to put a compilation together of all the amazing moments that Porsha had this episode. She was too good. She's too good. She really was.
When she's on, she's on.
Oh, it's so fucking funny. I love that they show us, this is what the Peacock is doing so well. They show the crew setting up for the events that are coming up. They give us those shots in between because the crew works their ass off. The production on these shows, like, it's not like a movie, like a scripted show where they get all this time in between. Like, they're like, okay, everyone stop doing everything. We're going to set up and reset. They have to do it like in between when they can, because it's reality. So I like that they do show them hard at work, doing what they can. The ladies, they get home. Candace calls Leah and Leah feels worse. Leah's like, was it boring? Was it boring without me? I like how Candace can't really answer that. Like, she's like, well, there was no one to pick on.
Yeah.
And Leah's like, of course there was no one to pick on. But, you know, if it was the other way around and you were here and I was there, but then it freezes. Yeah. I'm like, I really want to know what she was going to say. Cause I'm like, what was it going to be?
Yeah. I think Leah gives herself too much credit. She thinks that they like wouldn't have as she's thinking the way her narrative is, without Leah, there would have been no storyline because they're the one that they're making fun of. And it's like, no, Leah, when you weren't there, I forgot. Like, we don't need you. It's fine.
I completely forgot she wasn't there too. You even see Marisol when the producer's like, what was it like going to the temple without Leah? And she's like, she wasn't there?
So good.
So there, you proved the point. Okay, so of course Whitney's night is tantric and pulled things and whatever.
She loves an opportunity to bring up that love is art weird thing she did, even though like it's supposed to be her worst moment and it got Justin fired and she regrets it, but she brings it up. No one would keep talking about it. They wouldn't keep playing the freaking flashback if you didn't bring it up every 10 seconds.
Why does she keep talking about it? It's like
so weird.
It's horrible. It's a horrible memory.
It's a no from me. Like,
it's a no for us. Stop it. Stop it. And then the chef is, you know, just like not someone I really want to imagine sexually either. So I'm like, oh God. So then he's like talking about the patience it takes, you know, and grinding the ingredients. I'm like, got it. Okay, thank you. And then these little cute pole dancers are like so pint size. These like mini pole dancers. They're very cute. But Pepsi's made a drink, a welcome drink that is called Sticky in My Hand. When you finish it, you just use the towel to clean your hand. Telling you, this guy, okay? This man's a freak. This man is a freak.
He definitely is.
Porsha comes down. She's like, oh, am I the last one? Marisol goes, no. Alexia still needs to come down. And Porsha goes, who's Alexia?
They're just calling them Miami.
That's true. They are. They're just together, just jointly together. So Chef goes through all of these like aphrodisiac-y dinners and they're like eating it. Then they start talking about his penis and all these sorts of just, you know, what else are you going to do? I feel like that's required. They're at this tantric dinner. So I feel like they should talk about a penis, right? I mean,
housewives love that. They love an opportunity to talk about sex. But you know what? They're grown women.
They're grown women. And then there's like a little penis vase and they're like discussing penis sizes. And
Heather admitted she's scared of penises.
Yeah. Scared of a big dick, but what does Porsha say in her confessional? She's like, please. She looks like she's broke some big D in her day.
So good.
And then she demonstrates what that must look like. Another classic moment. But then here we go. Whitney talks about, she's like, one of the worst moments of the show is the love is art thing. And it led to him losing his job. And she's like, I was going to quit the show that same day. But then her version is that Justin was like, I said, do I take my wife's power and tell her no? Or do I risk it and let my wife be her? And I'm like, here's what I think happened. I think he was fired regardless.
Yeah.
And he was like, you need to keep the show or else how do we have any income?
I 100% agree with you. It has nothing to do with anyone's power or being themselves. It has everything to do with the damage is done. Now, if you quit, we have no money. You have to maybe even turn it up, dial up because we need you to stay on this program.
Yeah. So Marisol was like, yeah, I saw that scene. And they're like, yeah. But Porsha really defends it. She's like, look, it happens to the best of them. I've seen a lot of housewives do it. Never comes off right. And then they give us the worst compilation ever of all the worst cringy scenes. I'm like, how dare you do this to us? How dare you force us to watch this compilation of all of them doing this? It's
just in any of those scenarios, how did anyone think it was a good idea? It's like when like a marketing campaign gets passed and you're like, how many people approve this? And it has like a typo or like it's offensive wildly and very obviously. It's the same thing as that. Like, I don't care who was the first one to get in a bathtub, who was the first one to do any of it. In what world were any of them thought it was a good idea, let alone learning from the past mistakes. Whoever, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Then we get the pole dancing instructors, and Porsha goes, I don't know. Some of the Atlanta dancers could squash them with their butt cheeks. But then she gives them their props. And they're really funny on that. Giselle especially is funny. She just like screams as she goes around, twirls around that thing. Marisol, as she starts, she goes, I have a very bad patella. But of course, Whitney living her best life. Whitney's like, and I will flip upside down. Basically, Whitney does these things just so that she can show
100%. It's giving Kyle Richards doing the splits. It's their party trick, and they like to bring it out.
Yeah, 100%. But then after the event, Whitney and Candace smoke weed in the confessional. But first, Porsha catches a producer with some KFC in the kitchen. She's like, excuse me. And she eats like whatever leftovers from the dinner with the KFC.
There's been so much KFC. It's like weird product placement throughout this whole season.
Right? And is it KFC or is it like some off-brand, like their version of KFC? I can't even tell.
I don't know. I mean, it looks very similar. I haven't frequented a KFC quite recently enough to know, but it does look like the same containers and packaging. And it's like almost like they have it, moved so we don't see the KFC label. Yeah. So I don't know, but I mean, she was taking those mashed potatoes down.
And it has made me want KFC. Like it's effective. Like it's effectively given me a craving, which I haven't had in so long.
Right.
But then Candace and Whitney are smoking and they're having hilarious stoner conversations about just dumb shit. But then Whitney's like, I'm hungry. So she goes into the kitchen, and I love that they give us a shot of the one producer filming it with his camera, because that's something we forget. Like they have to stay up with them. Like when they're doing these ridiculous things, they got to stay up and film it too. But then eventually that producer gives up and they go off of like a security camera to film Whitney getting on one of the pool rafts, which I'm like, this isn't going to end well. And then she falls in.
It was a good showing for Whitney, though, because between the way she kind of made up with Heather, she was funny. She was, besides bringing up the weird things with Justin, I thought it reminded me why I like Whitney.
Agreed.
And a lot of times this show can do one or two things. Like same thing with Porsha. Like it's just reminded me how much I love Porsha. And even if her last couple seasons in Atlanta, like were my favorite, I'm like, oh, she's great. Yeah. Or it does the opposite where it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to watch Heather for another season, because like you're just getting additional time with these women. Yeah. And it either makes you love them and miss them on their own show or want their show back, or you're like I'm dreading Salt Lake City coming back. I really am.
Agreed. And we really need to see some more Beverly Hills women on these shows. I would like to see them out of their habitat.
That's such a good call. I really do think this season, I am enjoying it. Like there's definitely funny moments, but I think it's taught me two things. One, and I saw someone tweet this, that's like those seasons of Jersey, they did 3 and 4, like back to back, where they were still filming season 4, or they started filming season 4 before they did their reunion. And then the reunion didn't make sense because like Jacqueline refused to go because it's going to happen, but we didn't know it yet. That's what's happening with this season. And it's just not good. It doesn't work. So you either need housewives that are no longer on their show, or in a period where they left their last season with a closed chapter, they've shot their reunion, or it's so far away, we're in between seasons, like clean break, not existing drama you're bringing in. I don't want to hear it. And it also reminded me that, just because Peacock can make something over 42 minutes doesn't mean they should. We got to trim these down. I don't need 55 minutes.
I agree. I do agree. This would be better in a 30-minute format, maybe.
Yeah. Even give me the full 42, whatever. But it's like all over 50. Plus, they're trying to make us watch bonus footage. I'm like, I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, this isn't that serious. Like, this vacation is already too long.
Because they always have to put in more of these little like, oh, this is them smoking weed and stuff, which I get, I love, but like we could find like another cuter way to show us that, maybe like, I don't know, maybe throw some extra like social media, like real content or something.
Yeah.
But not like in the episode. I agree. I fully agree.
Or like maybe too much time getting ready, too much time of Leah in the hospital. Like, cut that stuff. Give me the funny and give me the tension. Cut
all of Leah in the hospital.
Cut all of Leah, the whole show. Like I'm so upset with her casting choice, like that they brought her on this. It doesn't make sense to me.
Cut all of Leah for sure. I'm happy she leaves early. Well, I think she has to. They're like,
how many more days are there and episodes are there?
Did they say this was day 8?
Okay. I guess it's a very far place to travel. So I understand you stay for a while, but I'm like, I feel like we did what we needed to do here. I don't know how much more of this I need.
And I think they only have, I'm going to guess they have 2 more episodes left. That is my guess. We also still need to see Marisol and Alexia have a fight.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Which
I imagine is going to be very small. I really do. I think they've played it up, but I'm like, they're going to get into a slight bicker that's going to be over quickly because they're friends. Like, that's what happens. Like, sometimes you fight with a friend, but they're like, it's all we had from them, guys. It's the only fight we had. So we got to show it in the trailer. All right. Well, this was lovely.
This was so fun.
This was so fun. Thank you so much for coming back on. Tell the people where they can follow you or find your work or whatever.
I mean, keep reading usmagazine.com if you so choose. I know there's a lot to choose from for your Scandival or your Bravo content, but I think we do a good job over there. Doing things like watching Howie Mandel so you don't have to, and getting boots on the ground. I can't wait to find out what comes out of Coachella from the Vanderpump Kids.
Right.
And I am just at Sarah Heron. Listen to Us Weekly's Here for the Right Reasons podcast if you like The Bachelor.
Follow Sarah's Instagram. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your brunch.
Oh, thank you. I feel a little like, I think this helped. I think I'm working through it. I just need a little more Diet Coke and we'll be good.
Yeah, Diet Coke cures everything.
It really for me, it's aspartame is my favorite drug, is what I always say.
There we go. All right, guys, stay messes out there. Love you, mean it. Bye.
Bye.
I hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you did, would you mind leaving me a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you are listening? If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget there's the super thanks option down at the bottom, the little button with the $sign and the heart. And also I'm on buymeacoffee.com/SheSpeaksBravo if you want to buy me a little coffee or 2 or 5. And my Patreon, that is where I'm covering all of the classic Bravo jams. If you want to follow me over there and subscribe, link is in the description. And follow me on Instagram and TikTok at She Speaks Bravo. And whoever the guest was for today, all their information is always in the episode description. So if you want to follow them and check them out, check there for the info. And any of the sponsor codes that I mentioned in this episode will also be in the description. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I'll see you next time. Bye.